Hey, good morning, everyone. Today we are finishing the Old Testament prophet Joel, and we're looking at chapter 3. And I want to review what Joel's all about. Remember that he's a prophet writing to the people of Judah. And in the first chapter, especially first two chapters, there are some rather severe images. The first chapter of a locust plague, and the second chapter of an invading army that let us know that it seems that from Joel that the people have become very complacent. Joel mentions the sin of drunkenness, but we also know from Isaiah, another prophet who wrote to the people in Judah, that God was displeased with the people's unwillingness to listen to him, especially to provide for the weak and the powerless, the widows and the orphans, and the under-resourced people in their land. And so God is warning his people that unless they turn back to him, there's going to be some severe consequences of their sin. And as always, sin separates. You can always put those two words together. It separates us from God. It separates us from each other. But as we learned in chapter 2, there's a remedy. Just want to remember those words of hope from chapter 2, verses 12 and 13. It says, "Give me your hearts. Come with fasting, weeping, and mourning. Don't tear your clothing instead in your grief, but tear your hearts instead." And then these words, "Return to the Lord your God, for he is merciful and compassionate, slow to get angry and filled with unfailing love. He is eager to relent and not to punish." So Joel goes on, and in chapter 3, and we get more of the doom and gloom talk, the punishment and the sin, punishment for sin and judgment and the consequences. And once again, his descriptions are dramatic, and some believe them even to be an explanation of the end times. There are references to a couple references actually to the Valley of Jehoshaphat, and to a time where what Joel calls the Day of the Lord. Many people try to find these a clear-cut timeline and a description of what's going to happen in the final judgment. Honestly, it's pretty hard for me to see this as a precise timeline. Instead, my eyes went directly to the end of the book, kind of a summary passage that I think actually boomerangs us back into chapter 2. Joel says these words. He says in verse 21, he says, "I will pardon my people's crimes, for which I have not yet pardoned. And I, the Lord, will make my home in Jerusalem with my people." This is a promise of God's. It's his assurance that of his mercy, of his forgiveness, and his promise to be with us always. That's the remedy for sin, and it's the hope for the future. Remember those words: "Return to the Lord your God, for he is merciful and compassionate, slow to get angry, and filled with unfailing love. He is eager to relent and not punish." I think that's what the whole book of Joel focuses around. Whereas much of Joel is maybe not very clear, this promise is unmistakable. Return to the Lord, and may you experience his free gift of compassion and unfailing love, and the peace of knowing his mercy in your life. Have an amazing, grace-filled day.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.